During times of uncertainty, it's comforting to know we have a healthcare system in our community that's been committed to supporting us for well over a century. In this current time, we are standing together, and our bond is stronger than ever. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Mike, obviously, scrimmage today, I guess as general a question as you get, just what were your impressions of how your guys looked, and I guess what was probably the first scrimmage of the spring?
Well, we didn't scrimmage. We just had a regular practice. I thought it went good. I thought we came out a little sluggish early. I thought we finished pretty well. It was a practice as usual, although we did have a relatively long team period, and I thought that was competitive. I thought we can go harder longer this year, so I think we're in a little better shape. And then as a result, I think we got the ability to improve more. And then, of course, we have the whole 100% contrast of having spring this year as opposed to not last year.
Along those lines, your 5 practices into spring, has anything just really jumped out at you as an overwhelming impression, or has it been kind of a same old spring?
It always has its nuances, and then of course you're trying to constantly look for guys that can potentially make a move and elevate. So you're always on the lookout for that. I would say the biggest thing is we're a lot more competitive when we practice than we were last year. I would say that would be the biggest overall thing. We're trying to establish some. We're trying to establish some of our young guys, get reps and that type of thing, and elevate their play. Which I've been pleasantly surprised with how far along some of the young guys are and ready to play.
Joe Coleman.
Given the position they play, Mike, I'm sure we'll ask about them a lot, but at quarterback, of course, with Jack and with Will and things, just how have they looked so far? And I guess, with Will in particular, what specifically are you kind of looking for from him this spring, I guess, to kind of lock down, or as he tries to lock down and maintain that starter's role?
Well, the biggest thing, I want him to do a great job commanding the unit and elevating and moving the offense, and I think he does a good job of that. The other thing is I'd like to further, polish and more efficiently run the plays that, he's already relatively good at. Any plays he's not so quick at reacting to, I want to speed that up. But overall, I guess, I'd like to see the ball come off his hand a little quicker as far as when he sorts what he sees and puts it on him.
David Murray.
Yes, also talking about Will, what has Jack Abraham brought to this team, and frankly, the several other graduate transfer quarterbacks that you have on this roster?
Well, I think Jack and Chance, they're both competitive. We've been repping all 3 guys and just rotate them. I think, Jack, you can tell he's got some polish and experience out there. I like, when he's throwing well, I like the way the ball comes off his hand. If he's not sure, of course, there's some hesitation, and anytime he gets into a streak, I want him to, sustain it if it's a good one and get off it if it's a bad one. I think that Chance, when he's really in rhythm, and he can really put the ball on a guy quickly. Really good at throwing seams and reacting decisively. But then, sometimes has a tough time sustaining that. I think I'd like to see all quarterbacks better at kind of touch passes and in many cases throwing them earlier.
Tyler Horka.
Yeah, Mike, just kind of sticking with the theme of the quarterbacks. Daniel Greek enrolled early. How big are these practices for him, and how's he looked?
I think they're very big. He does every day in the second scale. Has looked good. I think is getting better as he, learns the system. There's one thing to it's one thing to be able to draw it on the board. It's another thing to be able to react to it quickly and efficiently without thinking about it, too much. He throws the ball well. He can he can really laser the ball and do it quickly downfield when he's sure where he's going with it. But I think he's doing a good job and making progress.
Paul Jones.
Coach, I don't know if you talked about it yet, but just your thoughts on the offensive line so far. Obviously, they got better as the season went along last year. Have you seen that momentum or any strides taken from that group?
I think we've improved on the O-line. I would say offensively, tentatively speaking, because I hope they don't change my mind, but they may be the group I've been most impressed with offensively up to this point in the season, in the spring season, as far as improvement. We've got some new faces out there that I think have reacted and responded really well. I think that LaQuinston Sharp and Dollar Bill are both playing really well right now, and I would say probably, at a high level. And so they've been good additions. I think that, we're better at getting calls out there. And also Buys is playing well. Also Lashley's doing some good things. And I know I'm leaving one or two out, but in any case, there's I think it's competitive. I think that we're better at transition and twists and the games up front. I think it's helped us be more consistent in practice, not just the pass protection aspect, but also the run game aspect of it.
Kind of follow up on that, how much of that do you think he's just getting more comfortable in the system with the offensive line, just getting more reps in it?
I think I think the two biggest factors are getting more comfortable in the reps, but then the other thing, which I think is a huge factor, is I don't think we were in particularly good shape last year, because with all the interruptions with COVID and, the lifting and running was all splintered up. And then with people who was on quarantine, I think in too many cases they sat home, watched TV, and ate all the time. And so then we're in a lot better shape than we were. We can go faster, longer, and then, as you're trying to execute something, I think that that little bit helps, because you're talking about, we looked at a bunch of plays last year. If we could have just gotten half a second, all we need is half a second, whether the receiver gets open quicker, quarterback reacts to it quicker, but in many cases, the O-line protects and we get half a second. Well, we're getting that half a second a lot more often.
Go to Tyler Horka and then to David Murray.
Yeah, Mike, most of us are doing this press conference up here in the press box at Duty Noble Field, so I'd be remiss to ask you what your experience was like last night. We saw you up on the Jumbotron. Just kind of take us through your night last night at Duty Noble Field.
Well, it was outstanding. There's no question. That is like the greatest environment for baseball I've ever been in, and I've been in probably half the major league stadiums. And but per seat, where you sit at that stadium, I mean, it's just utterly outstanding. I thought it was a great environment, and just really looking forward to our guys reacting and responding today, because I know we've got a really good team, and I'm wishing them all the best as far as getting after Arkansas today.
Coach, also staying on the offense again, last year you got a lot of good experience from Marks and Johnson. What are you doing this spring to kind of round out their game to maybe put them in positions to get more yards after the catch or more yards after contact?
Well, I'll tell you, the more precise you run your route as far as, where you sit in space, we're doing a couple things, in other words, kind of micromanaging the sit here, not there. Because when you're just learning something, there's kind of a, this is close enough temptation to a player. And so, now we want it really sharp, really specific. So we've worn that out a little. The other thing is just their reads and understanding on zone versus man, that type of deal, and how to respond to that. And then the other is go straight upfield. After you catch a ball, turn, go straight upfield. And so I think we've done a pretty good job or making progress on eliminating the dancing. I hate the dancing. Catch the ball, or a guy's got the ball, and then they want to have a dance off with the defender, and then the defender looks at him for a second and then just blows him up. So catch, tuck, turn, go straight upfield.
No comment.
Just curious so far, Mike, who you've seen from the wide receiver core that maybe has made a stride forward or impressed you or anything, and along those same lines too with Mekhi Polk, obviously a guy we haven't seen. Can you kind of break down what you're getting out of him and what you've seen so far from Polk?
Polk is playing really well. I think ahead of schedule. I think Polk, for a guy that was in a different offense than ours, has really picked things up quickly and responded well. I mean, he's a guy that has caught a lot of balls and ran a lot of routes, and you can see. And the other thing that I like is as some of our other receivers see him do things, then they can copy and duplicate that. And I see that happening with our quarterbacks too. Like one quarterback will bring something to the table, and then the other guy will copy it, whether it's sticking a ball on a seam quicker or something like that. But then I think that Spivey's in better shape and playing faster than he has. He just needs to understand how physical he is. I mean, because big hands, big arms, those need to be weapons for him. He's still working on that. Ducking at times when he's locked in does some good things. Wally is, I'm trying to think of him just off the top of my head. Wally remains explosive and always on the map as far as being a receiver. I think we can make him more precise, though. I think that even though he plays hard, plays aggressive, he leaves a lot of yards out there that he could get. Brody King's playing hard. And then, Austin Williams is just extremely steady. Javante Payton, we've got to get him consistent. He's explosive, but he's got to be a consistent guy. But he is really explosive, and when he knows where to go and gets there and plays decisively. That's the biggest thing. We got to get him very consistent. He goes from unstoppable to he can't line up. And we got to keep that on the higher end. And so then. I thought that Tulu's playing well, fast. I think more polished and sharper than last year, and he started playing really well at the end of last year. Malik Heath doing some really good things. The one thing I guess you might playing more physical. He's a big kid, but. Physical and decisive, and we got to keep him consistent too. When he's consistent, knows where to go, knows what to do. Really a dynamic player. When he's out there guessing, then it's like you're just sitting there watching potential, and that's the most frustrating thing in the world. Seeing somebody that's got potential just kind of wallowing around. And then I don't know if I left anybody out. If I did, you think anybody, I'll tell you about them too, probably. I might not, but I probably will.
Let's close it out with David Murray.
Now that you're a couple of weeks in, I know Joel mentioned scrimmaging. Do you have a set plan for scrimmages this spring?
Yeah, we're going to scrimmage. We got it written down. we're gonna scrimmage, the spring game, obviously, and then we're gonna scrimmage the weekend before that, and we might. We're debating whether we're gonna scrimmage one of the other practices. Sometimes what we do is we evaluate our team and what we need on both sides of the ball. Just during team period, just scrimmage the team periods, if you're afraid of getting too many reps. But we have gotten a lot of quality reps. I mean, we're repping more than we usually do and repping more than a lot of teams do for sure at this point.